Dice, yeah, ay, ay.
Today I'm talking with Ronald Zion Roseboro, author, trauma-informed coach, empowerment trainer, and founder of the Shame-Free Life, who turned incarceration, shame, and broken models of manhood into a mission to help men heal, speak up, and break the cycles keeping them stuck. We get into his many ideas such as the brick method and the emotional Miranda law, which is why so many men learn to stay quiet about pain and how speaking up can become the first real step towards freedom. This is the FYI Am Damaged podcast. Now a word from our sponsor. I wrote a children's book called Logan, the Strong-Minded Little Elephant. Check it out. Meet Logan, the strong-minded little elephant who learns that bravery isn't about being fearless. It's about believing in yourself even when you're scared. In this beautifully illustrated story, friends follow Logan through a colorful jungle as he learns to calm his worries, take deep breaths, and remind himself, I am strong, I am safe, I can do this. It's a story that helps kids, and maybe a few grown-ups too, find courage, mindfulness, and strength in their hearts. Logan, the Strong-Minded Little Elephant by me, Oscar Luna. Available now at all major retailers and my publisher's bookstore, Milton and Hugo. Because it's up to every parent to show that their child deserves to know that strength starts from within.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of FYI I Am Damaged. I'm joined by Ronald Zion Roseboro. Ronald is an author, certified trauma-informed coach, empowerment trainer, and founder and visionary of the Shame-Free Life Coaching and Consulting. Ronald, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Oscar. It's a pleasure.
Introductions are fluid. Rather than lead with all of those titles, when someone takes an interest in you and wants to know how you lead your life, how do you introduce yourself?
I introduce myself as one who has elected to bounce back regardless of the setback.
Okay. And when you introduce and they take an interest in how you do your coaching and consulting, and how long has that been going on for you? How long have you when was that established?
Yeah, so the Shane for Life Coaching and Consulting is fairly new compared to many other therapeutic communities. So we are 4 years strong right now, and we're just excited about the future.
Awesome. Before you were a certified trauma informed coach and author, you were a young man moving through classrooms, locker rooms, and eventually courtrooms. What was the what was the definition of manhood to you back then?
That's a very good question because I did not have a proper and healthy definition of manhood. I came from a two-parent home. Well, actually, my mother, she divorced my biological father at age 2. By age 7 or 8, she remarried. My stepfather did a wonderful job in showing me how to be a man from a financial position, to maintain the household, to steward the household well. But when it came to emotions, um, uh, uh, psychological blueprint, and even a spiritual blueprint, he fell short. Though I don't fault him, he only could work with the tools that he had in his tool belt. So when it came to manhood, I did not have a proper understanding, and so since I didn't learn inside the home, unfortunately, I learned outside of the home with other young men who had no concept of a healthy sense of manhood and masculinity.
Now, you said you became your first client. Actually, I I connect with what you said because I'm kind of in the same boat minus the I guess like the stepfather because I am from a single parent household with two older sisters. So, and growing up from the 80s, 90s, and on forward, and having three boys of my own, that's very difficult for someone to say. And I've said this to myself a lot of times before I started my healing journey is how can I raise men when I wasn't raised by one? And how do you reconcile that? Do you have any children yourself?
Yes, yes. I have a daughter, and well, actually, I have two, but we can get into that. So the daughter that I actually raised. Then I found out that years later, 25 years later, that I have another daughter that was held from me. So we both got a short end of the stick from her mother, and so we both found out. I did through DNA test, and in fact, the young girl at that time that hung around my daughter that I raised myself and my mother and my grandmother, happened to have been my biological daughter all along. But she was told that she was not. Uh, I was also told that she was not and that she was the daughter of someone else that never claimed her. And I understand now why he never claimed her because inside of his heart of hearts, he knew that this young girl was not his daughter. And in fact, she ended up being mine. To your point and to your question, I think that I can reconcile within myself. It would be wonderful if we had a blueprint concerning manhood and masculinity, true healthy masculinity, that we could pass that on from generation to generation. Um, within me, I can reconcile that even though that I never had that, I am still responsible for that. So even though I never, I was never in the presence of someone to take me under his wing, to walk me through the journey of manhood. But once I am of age, I have a choice to make. Do I want to continue the toxicity and dysfunction of unhealthy masculinity, or do I want to learn how to become a man? I can't go back and undo what has already been done as it relates to myself as a youth, adolescent, and young man. But what I can do once I have learned what proper masculinity is, not from what society says, but what it truly is, now I can pass that information on to those who are miseducated so I can break the cycle. And I'm in the business of breaking cycles, breaking unhealthy patterns, breaking chains, emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
So you either are or you already have that sort of guidebook when a young man comes to you and says, I can't connect with the mother of my child. I can't, I don't know how to be their father. And I don't even know how to and a lot of the things I'm saying is most likely I may have said myself into the in, may have said to myself in the past because that is even though all my three boys are in a two parent household when I had my first child I felt like a shell of a man because and that shell over time so I'm speaking to somebody listening to this going through that like look that shell gets when you pay attention to yourself and you have that love like I don't know if you heard that saying like a woman becomes a mother when she's pregnant, a man becomes a father when the child is born. And I took that to heart because once my first son was born that actually gave me the drive to say you know what I'm not going to f this up. I can't. And while there were some bumpy times, and whoever's listening to this, yeah, there will be some times that you may feel like you're failing as a father, but failure is the opposite of success. and I can only speak from experience and just going through that. And it's like, just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it with the best intentions in heart, because then it won't be one step forward, two steps back. It's going to be five steps forward, one step back. I would love to get your view on anything I may have brought up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's real. You know, C.S. Lewis, he wrote a wonderful quote. He says that you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. And we don't always have it right. You know, to those who may be going through a particular rough patch in your life, that you don't know how to connect with your child's mother. You don't know if, in fact, you can actually fit into the role and be a wonderful father. Well, you know, it all starts with a decision, and we don't have to have all the right answers, and oftentimes we don't. We are work in progress, and this is hands-on training, and our decisions determine our directions, and our directions determine our destiny. So the question is, what is your decision now? Do you want to learn? And there are going to be times where we fall. There's an ancient proverbs written by King Solomon. He says that though a righteous man falls 7 times, he gets right back up. So it's not how many times that you fall, but how many times that you are determined to get back up. And this is where people like you and I, we come into to agreement, and we're so needful in our communities. Um, whether it's our own biological, or whether it's being a surrogate father, a father figure, a brother, an uncle to someone else, just to remind them that you can do this. And I'm a listening ear, and I will help you. You know, it's so easy to talk about, especially the young generation, what they're not doing, how far they have fallen short. And we understand that, but we never highlight those who are doing it right. We never highlight the ones that mess up time and time again, but there's a light bulb that goes off, there's a revelation that comes forth, and they get it and they move forward. And we ought to celebrate those individuals.
That's strong words, and I love that you get to see that, to know that, we have to put the positive forward and celebrate that first. Yeah, acknowledge anything that's negative to learn that and get better from it, but also, you know shine light on those individuals that may say something, may teach something. That knowledge and positivity is not one single block. It's many bricks. And we'll
Yes.
get to that with your brick method and everything, to that nature. Now, you said you became your first client. What were some of the early wounds or messages about being a man that you now recognize as the root of the emotional Miranda law you talk about?
Great question. I think that having a false sense of manhood, feeling less than, um, growing up and not having the um, a secure attachment. We all have attachment styles, and mine was basically anxious avoidant or anxious attachment. What that actually means is that I have been programmed to believe that it's only a matter of time before a person leaves. So therefore, I've got to beat them to the punch. Whether I sabotage the relationship, or whether I just magnify a very minute, small event and make it larger than life, whether I create a hostile environment for the person to leave, so I won't have to say that I left, but she did. So all of those symptoms point to an attachment, uh, uh, an ancient, ancient, and excuse me, a anxious attachment, but it also points to an attachment injury. And so that's what trauma is. Trauma is basically a wound to the soul. It's basically a soul wound. So, I never grew up with a sense of what manhood truly is. So therefore, I went on a relentless pursuit to try to find out what it really was. So, in dealing with anxious attachment, soul wounds, unhealed trauma, undiagnosed trauma, it was a perfect recipe for derelict behavior, recklessness, and just to be stuck or paralyzed in a place in space that was like I would refer to it as the Peter Pan syndrome. Peter Pan, though he had a wonderful powers in Neverland and has such a huge following, he refused to grow up and accept responsibility for himself. So he remained stuck in a place of lack of maturation. And I, like so many others, I found myself in that place.
And I definitely relate to that issue where even though somebody creates that environment to say, okay, my significant other left, they weren't strong enough to sit in a relation, this is a quote unquote good relationship, when that's just a reflection of how, I guess, in a sense, you're mirroring that weakness within yourself and then just putting it out on others. And that is just something so easy to see. Yes, from the outside looking in. And it's just so painful to reconcile when a person finally realizes, like, crap, it was me. It was me. And then you sit in that, and that shame, and I guess we'll get to all the shame things as well. And how would you, I guess, coach or walk someone through to help reconcile those feelings, since you've actually lived them yourself and you're leading by example from experiencing it to getting out of it?
Well, God gave us emotions for a reason. We're not just numb, senseless, mindless objects that have no feeling. We're not laptops or desks. We have feelings, we have emotions. I think that when our emotions begin to go awry, that's when we have to check in with ourselves. What is going on? What is the root of this behavior? There is nothing more telling than the mirror, not the opinion of your family, though they may have firsthand information, not the opinions or the perspective of your friends or colleagues, but that mirror itself. And looking at that mirror, it gives you the reflection, it refracts what it actually sees, and it's undeniable. And so the mirror to the soul is therapy, coaching, to not necessarily tell someone what to do, but to pull the answers out of a person that's already there. But we have to unravel what is covering the answer. And so I would just tell someone that emotions are real and to acknowledge them. We are to observe various emotions that we have because those emotions are connected to a deeper issue, whether it's good or whether it is unhealthy.
Now, you were released from incarceration in 2004. If you're comfortable discussing, can you take us into a moment inside or after you were released when you realized silence and shame were literally killing you as a man?
Yeah, well, so I think during the incarceration, I had a nervous breakdown, and it was nothing but just the hand of God to heal me from the inside out in the midst of being involved and in a cesspool of an unnatural culture. So we're talking about culture shock of you leaving civilian life and going into a place that is completely unnatural, that have certain bylaws and codes that are unspoken, that everyone have to abide by if you want to survive. So there was a level of suppression that took place within me. I had to suppress my humanity to a degree. There were certain emotions that I had that I could not show. I had to suppress that. Well, over time, that becomes learned behavior, and it becomes a perpetual pattern if it is not recognized and broken. So the silence that I had to endure was not just during those times, but primarily post prison, after the release. After the release of walking out of one prison to actually walk into a larger and more prolific prison, a prison of discrimination, a prison of being a second class citizen, a prison of shame and embarrassment, low self-esteem and low self-worth, a distorted self-image. So for many that walk out of one prison, and we clap and we have welcome home parties and all of that, but the fact of the matter is that unfortunately we live in a society that is not as forgiving as it says it is, because of policies and legislations, and just because of a preconceived notion of who you think a person is, as opposed to getting to know the person that stands before you. So I had to wrestle with shame. I had to, and I became silent. And we talked about, we could get into the Miranda law that you talked about, or I think this is a perfect segue. So the Miranda law was basically a revelation that I believe that I got from God. I give him all the credit. That, the Miranda law is a law that's set in place that, if you are arrested, then the Miranda law is read by law enforcement, that you have the right to remain silent, that anything that you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. Well, for many men, we have reserved the right unconsciously to adhere to an emotional Miranda law. We have reserved over years, over decades, the right to remain silent. Silent about our fears, silent about our brokenness and pain, silent about the trauma, silent about the flashbacks, the hypervigilance, the memories, everything that torment us. We have remained silent. And those things that we have remained silent about, unfortunately, have come to arrest us when we're supposed to be free. So the liberty or the emancipation or freedom comes when we can break the chains of silence and not man up, but speak up. And it's very comical to me, Oscar, when I hear so many people say, well, you ought to man up. But what does that mean? How can I man up if I don't speak up? And so we have a generation of men that have been taught by society, our neighborhoods, and even family member, keep your mouth shut. Whatever happens in this family, stay in this family. Don't tell anybody that you've been to jail or prison. Don't tell anybody what your uncle did to you. Don't tell anybody that, your aunt, she's out there, running naked in the street because she's strung out on drugs. We don't want anybody to know that. Don't tell anybody about your mama. She's out there on a whole stroke. We want to keep that in-house. Keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anybody about your daddy beating your mama. Keep that in-house. So we have remained silent for years, and the silence have become venom. We can see that in rage. We can see that in gang violence. We can see that in the perpetual motion of cycles that continue for lineages. The silence have become chains of incarceration, because we have been taught it's not manly to speak up. I'll take your man card if you show any type of emotions. But it's just amazing, because women can get together, whether it's a parking lot of a mall, whether it's a wine bar, whether it's in church, or whether it's in therapy. They can talk about what they are going through, but when it comes to us as men, we internalize it, and we have made the therapy couch the local tavern or the bar, or smoke it away, sex it away, shop it away, retail therapy, instead of speak it up so we can man up.
And insanely strong words. And I resonated with all of that because before I started and the only way I can, I guess, connect with that is because before I started my healing journey and letting people know what I've gone through, some people in that sort of state, which you've laid out for us, very detailed, they would look at me like with five heads, like, what? You admitted that? I'm a victim of, at a young age, of sexual abuse by a family member. And when I came to grips and beginning my healing journey and releasing that, and by release meaning was able to come to grips with it, was able to forgive myself. I didn't need to forgive, him. I needed to forgive myself because I tortured myself for decades. And in turn, that reverberated out to my wife, to my children, to how I treated my friends or kept them away. Once I was able to do that, and then I always tell people I did it so you can, meaning you find your strength through vulnerability. That's one way of doing it. There's not one single way of finding your strength. There's so many ways. And being vulnerable to a point where it's, not that you're some simp or you're some weak ass dude or whatever. It's like, no, you know. And for me, like, I'm born and raised in the South Bronx, New York. I'm sure you know how hard it is. And that
Yeah.
was in the 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Yes.
People would look at me like, what do you know about stepping on crack rocks? I'm like, I know a lot, so even though I wasn't of that, I was around it. So you get a sort of different perspective. And like how it is, and it's the same thing. There's that, unless you're within those circles, you already still know there's an unspoken way of moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you violate that, is consequences.
That's right.
And so, and then coming from a background where and there's a lot of individuals that I know, and, bless them when they're here or not, is that they move that way. The way you explained, it's like, you don't say nothing. Don't, but then again, everybody already knows, it's keep it close to the vest, but everybody already knows. But if I speak it, then it's like you're speaking it into existence when everybody knows, everybody's seen it, everybody is, they look at you, but whatever, that's even up to the point of like almost assuming. But going through speaking all of that is the strength, and acknowledging all of that. And once you do that, you move different. I'm sure you already know that because I see how you speak, and you don't speak with authority, even though you do. But what I mean to say is you speak with strength. You speak with experience. You speak with, I processed this. I lived it and I processed it, and I'm able to speak and shine into people positivity, and like, look, this is not where life begins and ends.
Mm-hmm.
And even the road doesn't have a roadmap. That's the weird thing. Your journey doesn't have a roadmap. It's where you point your feet. And a lot of people think, no, my healing has to have structure. I started my healing in my 40s. I tortured myself for decades. And I'm like, shit, I'm healing now? Why couldn't I heal back then? But I wasn't ready. And I see those individuals, like I see fathers with their sons or their kids and how they're acting. I was in this place taking my kids, like, I come from where I come from, but my kids, they're playing Pokemon and they're doing their thing. And I take them to like these little tournaments, and I seen a guy with his kid, and he's like, and it's a gaming place, meaning, you play board games or whatever, you have fun, do what you got to do. And he's with his son. It looks like he has time with him. And then he's flipping through his phone, and just sitting there and then just seeing the kid at the other end of the table. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, damn, I wish I had that time back. I wish I was back there with my kids with what I know now, to know that I would have did a lot of things differently. And I see that in individuals. I felt like saying, enjoy this time, you're not going to get it back. All those same tropes.
Mm,
Um,
mhm,
but then instead of feeling sorry for someone or making myself feeling sorry for that position, I looked at it this way. I'm like, he's on his journey. He's on his journey. He's going to see it. Maybe he doesn't need to make it up to his son there. He may have to do it down the line. And that's what life is. That's that journey. And if I interrupt that, I may mess it up for them.
mm, mhm.
And God didn't put
Absolutely.
me in a position to say something, because no one said anything for me. No one did anything for me. But am I angry at God? Do I fault anybody? Like, no, it is, even though I don't really lean towards that saying, but I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
And I really appreciate what you're saying, because we all, well, I'm not going to say we all, many of us have learned coping mechanisms, all right, to just cope with the pain, to mask the pain, to numb ourselves from the pain, and it serves as a form of escapism. For one person, that may be drug dealing. For another person, that may be on his own supply, or her. For another person, they may be a workaholic. Another person may be an alcoholic. Another person may be a serial shopper. So we have learned coping mechanisms, unhealthy coping mechanisms, to mask the reality of the pain. There was a saying in the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington. He was referring to Nicky Barnes. He said, the loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. And
Hmm.
so Denzel could tell that the person who is the most outlandish, the person who is the attention getter or seeking after attention, loud and flamboyant and bodacious, there's a lot of hurt and brokenness there that's hidden behind the facade that we see. That's a coping mechanism. And so now we're just at a place, and not necessarily at an age, because I don't think you can put age on maturity at all. It's a state of mind. So whether it happened in the 40s, and I'm sure that you're not beating yourself down, but the blessing of it all is that your eyes are open and that you can see. Your heart is open and you can feel. And there's certain things that you can pass down to your children's children's children now, that you learned, but you were not ready then. But now it's almost like you are a reservoir for them, a reservoir of wisdom, of all of the things that you have seen, that you have experienced. And so that's valuable.
I actually went through something with my son. Like, he got into a fight in school, but then he when he was coming back from suspension, he had a chance. Like, I need to hand in this. I need to hand in some work, but there's one thing my friend didn't give me that I can't complete. So I'm like, okay, well, you got the framework for it. Why don't you try? I said, he was going to go see the play Hamilton. And I think the thing he needed to do was either make a poem or a rap. They were making him get creative with the play itself. But he's like, I don't know the actual framework. So I want to cater to what it actually is. I said, okay. And I found it as a teachable moment. I said, look, I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to force you, but, and this is what I love to do with men who have that my way or the highway, because I had that big time. I was like, no, you're gonna do it. You sit down. Matter of fact, I'm gonna sit down next to you while we do it to make sure that you. I said, look, I mean, because he's 15 right now. I got a 15, a 13, and a 6 year old. So it's three different ages, three different personalities. You got to deal with your own personality. You got to deal with your wife's personality, and you got to be able to, like, not go to sleep upset at the end of the day. So I told him, I said, look, just do a frame, just do something so at least you can hand it in. So I said, because when you get older, if you tell somebody, well, I didn't know what to actually do, so I didn't do it. I said, okay, but you can give them something and then work off of that once you get the actual framework you got to abide by. So he's like, no, I don't feel like doing it because I don't know actually what to do. It's a waste of time. I said, it's not a waste of time. You're still learning. I said, but I would let you know to take this under advisement and really, really consider it. And from a father to a son to do that without screaming, without getting frustrated, without them walking away in tears or like, fuck this dude, and just go to his room and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And next thing you know, he's like, I ain't doing shit, and so I like to say that. And even though I'm, speaking on a personal nature, but that's what people need to hear. They need to hear those things. When I hear people talking about their kids, they're doing this, their grades are great, and this and that. I'm like, yeah, okay. Then they don't see you flinging a plate at them when they're not listening to you or going to clean their room or doing their homework, but you're bigging them up because they got good grades and they're doing great in sports. And I had somebody who I was interviewing, like his mother got frustrated and actually threw a knife at him, and it went like right on the top of his head. He's like, Oscar, it seemed like we were at a circus, and she just threw it, and it was if it was a couple of inches down, it would have went right into my head or my eye. And this was a parent dealing with their own legacy of trauma, taking it out on their child, and just blanking out and doing that.
Right.
And I made a promise to myself once I started my heat. Like I have my good and bad days. But if it would have ever gotten to that, then I never would have had any good days to say, you know what, Oscar, give yourself grace, give yourself some understanding.
Right.
Understand you're trying to raise a human being. And that human being, you're trying to raise him into a man. And it's a wild way to live, to try and cultivate that, especially with the limited knowledge of what I had growing up without an established father. Even a broken father, even a halfway in father, I had none of that.
Absolutely.
If there's anything you would like to shed light on with what was said, we can begin from there.
Yeah. So, you mentioned just having grace. And I think that that's something that we have to do because we live in a society that's based on cookie cutter parenting, cookie cutter children, and that's nonsense. We have to give ourselves grace and also understand that there's certain things that we learn from our parents, that we can hold and that we can pass down, but there are many things that we cannot, and that's okay. So now we are basically doing the best that we can in being a parent, and just making sure that the next generation, our children, are living life, with an understanding of who they are, identity, understanding that they do have a purpose. You're not just here by osmosis, and that there is a self responsibility concerning all that you know now, and helping them on this journey. In doing that, that is a all day job. And so we have to give ourselves grace, and sometimes we have to celebrate some of the things that we have done right, because there is no perfect parent on this planet. I bet you won't find one, not in the entire state of New York.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you to say that, and then you see the other parent be like, "Oh, so you're not gonna think I'm like a monster?" Like, no. Everybody has their moments. Are you whipping them unconscious? No. Okay, good. Could you respond to them a little better? Like I say that to myself, all the time. I'm like, I have to catch myself. Like my middle child, oh man, he could press buttons. And then my youngest one, he's running around like you can't tell me nothing. Like dude, you're 6 years old, slow it down. But, he's a 6-year-old. And, it broke my heart because my 6-year-old, he got the flu. And I took him to the emergency room at the children's hospital. And there was without giving any detail because of medical things, there was a single mom with her child. She's like in pre-K. And she, with whatever was going on that brought them there, because like I said, I won't. It's a HIPAA thing. I won't do that, even though they probably they'll never know who I am. But regardless, she was going through her thing. She was there at the emergency room for her 4-year-old, and something happened. But then she kept on, and it hurt me. It hurt my heart to have her keep saying that to the doctor. And the police came because they were investigating it. A child welfare person came through. They were investigating what was going on. She kept saying to each and every one of them, she's a problem child, she's a problem child. She has issues in school, she has this, she has that. She keeps saying that, and I'm like, for me, I just felt like, you're birthing a trauma right there. You're birthing it. That child is going to latch onto those words and think I am a problem, and the core of me was like, wanted to just say, like, please stop calling your child a problem child. That they're going to carry that for such a long time. But then again, I can't step in to a point to just say something. And because I respect other parents, if they're not doing anything they shouldn't be, and you know what I mean, but their sovereignty as a parent, like, because then again, you step in there and be like, who the hell are you? You have no agency here. Back it up, regardless of what I'm saying. And but to see her reinforcing a trauma with words, it just broke my heart. And the doctor didn't say anything. The police that came didn't say anything. The child welfare person didn't say anything. And I'm like, why is nobody saying? Why are these people that she's advocating to help her with what's going on with her child? Why aren't they saying anything? To not even correct her, not even say don't say that, but it's like, you know, she's just 4 years old. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's that dark deflecting that takes place. It makes one wonder, how was her life as a youth? What did she go through as a youth? And so now you see this transgenerational transference of pain and trauma and victimizing the next generation. And so it's very sad and it's unfortunate, but there's so many episodes of that.
And I like what you said. What was that? The um
Deflecting.
dark deflecting. That's in a nutshell. Because I've seen parents like that they're pleading for help and bringing up all these negativities, and I'm like, and that's one of the things that came up to me now that you mentioned that. I'm like, she must have went through some stuff to be able to say that about her 4-year-old, rather than saying, look, my child is my child, she's a 4-year-old. I step in for I always tell my kids, I said, when they get into stuff, I tell them, tell me the truth. The two older ones, I said, tell me the truth. I will defend you as best as I can to the death, whatever. I will, but do not give me false information that I won't have a leg to stand on. So please tell me the truth. Be honest with me. Even if it's your fault, I still defend you. I will still defend you. You will reap the consequences of what you did, but I will defend you when we are, where I have to, and be advocate for you as a your parent. I'm not throwing you under the bus for anything, but please tell me the truth so I can build that confidence in them, so that when they come to me and say, they could come to me when they're older and be like, Dad, I fucked up. I fucked up. This happened. and X, Y, and Z. I'm like, boom, let's go. What do you need me to do? What are we doing? And you have to understand what you're going to be facing now, but at least we're facing it with the truth and with your honesty. And let's see what comes of this.
Well, I think the difference is that you created an atmosphere, an environment for that. You've created an atmosphere of safety and confidentiality. But when you grow up in a home where it is unsafe, you're not protected, anything that you say can and will be held against you, then now you internalize everything. And unfortunately, these children grow up to become adults. And some grow up with borderline personality disorder. Some grow up just completely just abound in their emotions concerning not having any autonomy whatsoever to discover who they truly are, because they've been told since they were a small child that you are a bad seed, that you are you're just bad. And so our words are containers of power, you know and so they create. And so and that's good or bad. So shout out to you and shout out to those who create an environment for your children to speak truth to power as you continue to speak truth to power, because our words are basically is equivalent to water on a plant, or it can be strychnine poison on a plant. It's really up to us.
And it's just so, and what was the point I was going to make? And people listening to this, especially the men, when you are learning from someone that you feel is a powerful person in your life and something like that happens, understand that if that emotion that comes up that makes you come up with the question, not even a question, a statement, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough because X, Y, and Z. I'm not good enough because of this event happening. And that, I feel, is a common poison among men who may have encountered situations. And I would tell them, I learned that from one of my other guests, Fred Moss. And, he basically said, like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're a perfect human being that has gone through turmoil. And you need to learn how to navigate that turmoil and go back to the perfect person that you are. I'm paraphrasing because he didn't exactly say that, but he did say, you're a perfect human being. You just gone through some ish. And to hold on to that rock that you call, that makes you say to yourself, I'm not good enough. Like, that's, understand, plant the seed of that's not right. To know that you are good enough. You dealt with a situation that kind of that made you think you weren't good enough either to yourself or outwardly to other individuals. How do you, have you ever dealt with that sort of feeling, and how did you reconcile that and move above it of maybe not being good enough?
Yeah. So, the feelings of worthlessness and less than, starting from a youth, it began to just morph in my life because I believed that press, and it became breaking news for me every single day. And so when you don't have people around you, and if you're not getting the proper psychological, emotional, and spiritual nutrients in the home, there's, you know, I really believe that the way that the Most High have this set up, that there's somebody that's going to cross your path that will be able to see the value in you, whether it's a coach, whether it's a bus driver, whether it's somebody at the mall, whether it's a fast food restaurant and it's the person who takes your order, the cashier, and says something kind, hey, listen, have you ever, you're just an amazing person, just have a great day. Whatever the case may be, somebody that can really speak truth to power, um, to try to counteract all of the negativity that we have taken in. So I had to deal with a lot of that. And just like you and just like so many others, that I internalized the negativity, and it didn't translate into positivity until I basically hit a point of no return. And so I had to make a decision. Now, wait a minute, regardless of what I went through, regardless of what anyone said, regardless of how confirming other people's negative dialogue and conversation is about me, I see myself as greater. I see myself as greater because God said so. And I think his version and I think his word trumps anyone else on this planet. And so based on that I do have a purpose, based on the fact that I know that I am not a mistake, based on the reality is that though I do have a testimony, I am not my testimony. I have to make a concerted effort to now switch lanes and change directions. And so that means changing my circle. That means changing my thought pattern, arresting thoughts that remind me of all the negativity that didn't produce any good fruit in my life. Replacing those negative thoughts with positive thoughts, uplifting thoughts, righteous thoughts, thoughts that are real and not counterfeit and fake. And so, it's hard work, but the fact of the matter is, here's the question: do you think you're worth it? Do you think that you're worth it? And your answer is going to be right either way. If you say, no, I don't think I'm worth it, then you're right. Well, yeah, I think I'm worth it. Guess what? You're right. So now let's put in that work so that we can switch lanes and start traveling in a different direction. We're all trying to get back to the place and space that we were before the trauma injuries. All are trying to get back to that place before the brokenness, before the fragmented soul. And because that's a healthy place, and that is the real essence, that's the core of who we truly are.
Absolutely. And getting back to your methodologies, like the brick method, it's a blueprint for rebuilding after loss, which even losing yourself and losing your standing as someone who should always feel like they're good enough. For someone who's never heard of it, can you walk us through what one brick looks like?
Yeah. So the BRIC method, BRIC is the acronym for breakthrough, resilience, identity, clarity, and kickstart. So the metaphor of this BRIC method, it happened to be a book that turned into a program. Okay. So just imagine that you receive an alert, a weather alert, that there is an F5 tornado that is getting ready to hit the state of New York. Now they narrowed it down through tracking devices that now it's getting ready to hit the Bronx. Not only is it going to hit the Bronx, but now you can see it from your neighborhood and it's coming. So now you get your children together, your wife, your valuables as much as you can. You flee out of the city. You have enough time to do that. But the home that was passed down to you from generation to generation, you put thousands of dollars into the renovation of this home. From the floor to the ceiling, everything is pristine. You still left in the home that you could not take with you all of the mementos and all of the trinkets and memories that you have. And the house itself holds a lot of great memories for you. When you get back to that neighborhood, you see it level. By the time you turn the corner, what used to be your house is nothing more than just rubble. Your bathtub is around the corner. Your front porch is down the street. And so now you hold in your hands of what used to be the remains of a house, of a home, of memories. There's nothing more than just ruins and rubble in your hand. So we have two choices here. Do we cry over what you lost, or do we roll up our sleeves, put on our tool belt, hard hat, and work boots, hit ground zero, and build right there? So, hence, the brick method was birthed from that analogy of helping men specifically to rebuild their lives one brick at a time. Because if we don't rebuild what was destroyed by trauma, by rejection, by dejection, by injustice, by incarceration, by addiction, codependency, drugs, whatever the case may be, um, we will walk around with all of those bricks in a backpack for years. And it's nothing more uncomfortable and heavy than to walk around with decades of bricks in your backpack when we can just go ahead and just build all over again.
Okay. And you devised this method so that they know how and when, and just the framework of actually recreating something that they can be proud of. Doesn't have to be recreated the same as, but like how I like to say, to make sure, we all, a lot of people take the name of my podcast as something might be a little bit negative, but that's just within their internal reflection and, reflection. But with your brick method, is you show them, hey, look, we're going to rebuild, but it's going to show that we've been through some.
Absolutely. There is power in the testimony. Not that we still live there, but that it serves as a reference point for the next generation of hope. It shows tenacity, resilience, and faith in yourself. That, and someone can see that, wait a minute, you went through that and you came back. I can do the same thing too. Yes, you can. And so, there's so many self-help books out there, but there are very few and far between books and programs and people who really care enough to make it a how-to. Let me show you how to do. Without any strings attached, without any gimmicks, without any pulling out a rabbit out of a hat and all that other kind of foolishness. Let me show you how, because I see you, not your money, but I see you as the greatest investment. And until we get to a place that we see people as the investment, not the Benjamins that you got in your wallet, not your financial portfolio, not the foreign car that you're driving, not your zip code, but I see you as the greatest investment. Until we have that understanding, we truly missed the mark.
Absolutely. And that men need to feel that again. And by that, I mean being seen. And they lack that enjoyment of being seen by other people, to be like, you look at somebody like, somebody tells me like, oh, I see you. I'm like, it's great to be seen. Because that feeling of being seen and being understood to a certain degree, like, I can, a scars tell a story. But
Yes.
when that person is telling their story of the scar, are they saying it in an empowered way, or are they saying it through tears or what have you? So you know what you're getting, you know what you're dealing with when you're hearing that story. So, that's why I love it. I mean, I always tell people, I do this because I've lived so long. You're going to have your scars, you're going to have your dents. I am damaged, but it doesn't mean I'm down. It doesn't mean I'm incapable of being who I am, despite of what I've been through. and for more people to lead in their own way, in that sort of way, you know, go ahead, put those bricks down one after the other. Give yourself the safety, and you're insanely right. You give yourself the safety of your experiences and cultivating the lessons from those experiences. It removes all of that pain. Then you are seen, then you are enough, and you will be a shining light to those to say, you know what, you did it. I don't know if I can. Like, no, bullshit. Yes, you can.
Mhm.
Because I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could be here talking about this. I didn't think I can be here saying, I've been through X, Y, and Z. Other individuals, they would balk and be like, I don't want to, don't mention I've been to prison, and I'm sure you've dealt with that. Like, they don't want to reveal that. They haven't found the strength in that.
Shame.
And I love how exactly, and I love how you do that. And it goes into how you also talked about men becoming the invisible man, suffering in silence while looking put together on the outside. What were some of the ways you use status, work, or relationships to camouflage trauma before you learned a different way? And I know you touched on it earlier with how you structured certain ways and how you dealt with people and the environment and everything. I mean, with talking about becoming the invisible man, can you please, expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, for me, I suppressed a lot of the issues that needed to surface or rise to the top, like cream and coffee, or a flotation device in a pool. And I mastered the art of camouflage, to camouflage my pain, my rejection issues, the dejection, feeling less than and worthless. And I camouflage that with drug dealing. I camouflage that with a stable of women. I camouflage that with shots at the bar, buying everybody shots. They buying me shots. I camouflage that with trying to live my life like a rap video. And so, but behind closed doors was the real me that no one else saw in public. They just saw the persona. But behind closed doors was the reality. So all of those telltale symptoms point to a larger core that I needed to deal with. And it wasn't until later, it wasn't into, well into my biological manhood stage, to now not change what has already been done, but to change my mindset in my direction. Because you could be 30, you can be 40, 50 and up, and still have the mentality of an 18-year-old or 16-year-old or 6-year-old. Wherever the trauma took place, whatever age it took place, if you were molested, if you were abused, or whatever the trauma was at that age, physically, emotionally, was still there. So now we have to bring ourselves all the way up to now a place of maturation. That's what I had to do. And so because if not, then now we're looking at not just people who are incarcerated on Rikers Island or in Folsom Prison, but I'm talking about people who are your next door neighbor, right down the street, your colleagues that you work with. They are serving a life sentence with no hopes of parole, emotionally, locked down in maximum security prison, emotionally and psychologically, if we don't deal with these issues.
And all they're doing is sticking their arm through those bars in their head, in their heart, in their soul, always pointing it at other people. Like,
Mm.
you're the problem. You're the problem. No, you're the one in your prison. That's the problem. And you need to get out.
I
You need to
always say
start.
that you may not be responsible for your injury, your trauma injury, but you are responsible for your own healing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to do that for you.
Absolutely. Those are strong words. And once you're right, you're right. People need to be responsible. They need to start their healing journey and then be responsible for it. You have to be. You have to be. You cannot sit as an injured person in whatever frame of your life. Like, who's showing up when you're showing out in such a negative way? What happened? What happened to that little child? I've done this before. Like, before an interview I had with somebody, like, I didn't even know I was gonna do it. I was gonna cancel it. I was freaking out. But right before I did it, right before I started the interview, I spoke to my little child, and I told them, I said, "Look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your life is going to be the way it is. But we're going to be better as an adult. You just have to." And it gets me every time cuz it's like you have to you're going to be better, but you're going to have to go through some things that are going to feel like you're never going to get over it. And speaking to the person listening to this, watching this, you do. I've gone over it. You've gone over yours. And it doesn't make you weaker, it makes you insanely stronger as a person, and you're taking the cover off of your light so that people can see that. And people love seeing that shining light because they said, look, if they can do it, so can I. I just need to know how. I need to know how. And then maybe they might come across this episode. Maybe they might hear somebody. You gotta listen to this. You gotta hear this dude, Ronald, man. You gotta hear how he's talking. You gotta hear how he's helping people. You gotta hear this interview on how they're going back and forth about, they're not feel. Do you feel good enough? No, I don't feel good enough. Listen to them. Listen to the words that they're saying. Hear what they've been through. They're not the only ones, and there's so many people that go through this and have all these amazing words and statements and plans and routes to make themselves a better person, but they don't have the platform to share it. And I hope that when they hear this episode and they hear you, they reach out. And they don't have to reach out to me. I want them to reach out to you. And, and they can still reach out to me, but it's like you have options. That's the point. I said something silly in the beginning when I started all this. I want to be the smorgasbord for people to pick and choose what they can to heal.
Mm-hmm.
They grab one lesson from you. They grab one lesson from another episode, another episode, and those accumulate, and your plate's full.
Right.
Then you're full. And then you put that onto other people. And it's like, I don't even know how this is paying forward, but if it does, it does. That's one of my missions, and that's why I like to spotlight missions such as your own.
Right.
And you have an awesome one.
Well,
That's why as soon as yes, please.
No. So I was going to say, so do you. I see you as a hub of healing. That's what you are.
Thank you.
You are the headquarters for healing. You have UPS. They have a central hub. All of the trucks meet there. They load up and they roll out. They go to various destinations, whether it's the East Coast, West Coast, down south, but they all come back and meet up to the hub, gas up, maintenance takes place, and they also reload again for the next route. So that's what I see your platform, a hub or a headquarters of healing, where you have various people that are on. You feature them as a hub, and many of them have different lanes, different regions, that they live in, and different callings, and they meet up, and they disseminate information to people that we would never meet, uh, possibly in any other regards, except is right here at the hub of healing.
Thank you for that, because it's, even though we're interconnected as a world with the internet, and we have made leaps and bounds with mental health, you still see it on the ground as like, when is it going to reach these individuals? And it just, it gets to me, and it's just like, and then it's like, am I doing enough? Am I screaming loud enough from the rooftops? Is anybody hearing me? Yeah, but it's not about the if, it's about, you have to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep doing it, even though you don't hear the words anymore in the air. The molecules are still vibrating as they travel. So hopefully it just hits somebody and just like, oh wait. And then journeys cross, and paths cross, and that healing just keeps going and going and accelerates. And it's, we cut down the generational time of how it affects these individuals, regardless of, because I like to say that we're healing backwards, meaning the older generation, they're partaking of all of these mental health resources when they didn't have it back then. So these older individuals, if they take advantage of it, are healing when they should have actually really healed when they were going through their trauma and when they were ready to heal. Because honestly, I wasn't ready until I was ready.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I went to a healing retreat. I, was screaming in the woods that I don't need to forgive anybody. I don't need to forgive anyone about what I've been through. They don't need forgiveness. Fuck them. But then it just dawned on me, like, I need to forgive myself. And when you forgive yourself, whether it's outwardly or silently, it helps. It helps tremendous amount. Eh, In your coaching and the upcoming Samson Restored movement, what are some of the patterns you see again in men, especially those who've been through prison, divorce, childhood trauma, that let you know this brother's carrying a bag of invisible bricks?
Yeah, I think some of those bricks, concerning Samson Restored, uh, is escapism, just finding new and clever ways to escape.
Now, before you expand on that, because I know you've also mentioned that before, can you give individuals listening to this, how can I identify those bricks that they're carrying so that they could kind of see not the warning signs, but the concerns that they are carrying these bricks?
So the mere fact that we are still battling or carrying the same issue year after year, that is a telltale sign. Whether it's unforgiveness, not forgiving yourself, whether it is a brick of regret, a brick of shame, uh, if we're carrying those bricks, you can carry those bricks as long as you want to, but it's not advantageous. It's not beneficial at all. It just wears you down and wears you out. And so if we're still carrying these type of issues, these vices, um, just getting wasted on a weekend. Okay, well, what's really the root of that? I mean, really. Okay. Man, you be in the bar every weekend, man, shutting it down. What's really going on? There's a root to this. And we've got to lay the axe to that. And so if you're carrying that issue for a long, extended time, I mean, you're dealing with, a man, and I was one of them, Man, you have a woman this week, next week somebody else, next month, 2 months, this somebody else, you meet somebody else. Hey, what happened to old girl, man? Man, who was that? Yeah, man, it's a new chick. I mean, so covering up and masking what needs to be exposed. Even when you get a cut, a laceration, and you bandage it, you put the antiseptic on it, you bandage it. There comes a time where you have to remove that bandage so the air can strike it, so that it can get a scab and heal over and not remain moist. There is no healing in that. But only when you expose it to the elements, to the atmosphere, now healing can take place. There's certain things in our lives we're going to have to expose in the confines of a healing hub, in the confines of Samson Restored, in the confines of someone that you can trust to unravel what has been covered for a long time. So now healing can take place.
Now, when a man steps into a shame-free space for the first time and does all of this and follows all these, you know, all this wisdom that you've been dropping us and opens, like, what shifts do you see? What do you start to see in his relationships, his faith, or his sense of identity?
A sense of worth, a sense and understanding of identity, that I'm not what I do and I'm not what I've done. I am who I am, and I just discovered him. The road of self-discovery leads to the road of self-awareness, which now we can graduate to self-empowerment. And that's a beautiful thing. To get to that, to go through those stages and phases, to now get to a place of, now you are confident. Now you have a greater awareness of who you are. Now the bandages or chains of shame are falling off of you, and now you're walking in your manhood freedom. That's a beautiful thing.
Now, finally, Ronald, looking ahead to your Samson Restored movement and everything you're building, what does manhood hijacked, manhood restored look like in 5 years? And where can listeners go if they're ready to lay down their emotional Miranda rights and join, support, and start this work for themselves and with you?
Well, and hope I answer your question. So I am committed to walk with men one step at a time. Okay. Men want to know one thing I have learned about men, and being one, I know I can speak for not all men, but I can speak for some, that we have a hard time in trusting other men, especially if a man has abandoned you, if a man have abused you, rejected you, mistreated you. We are more apt to connect to women than we are men because of bad track records. And I am sorry, brothers, but that is real. But I am committed on this end to help you walk down the road of self-discovery, self-awareness, self-identity, self-empowerment. And we can do this, rebuild this one brick at a time. So I think that when we partner, because we're both going to have skin in the game, I can't have all of the skin in the game, and the person who is the client have no skin in the game. No, the answers are in you. We're going to find it. So I can tell you that I will be committed for the long term. You're committed, I'm committed. You're invested. Hey, guess what? I'm invested to help you unravel, shake off all the unnecessary chains that have you stuck, paralyzed, and bound, so you can move into a place of identity and freedom, because the world is waiting on you. Your children are waiting on you. Your wife is waiting on you. The community is waiting on you. The world is waiting on you. And so Samson Restored, it offers that. It's a group for men to gather to speak truth to power. It's a support system. It's a structured support system, so that we know that we have more in common than not. But and all of us are on different levels of journey. But one thing is for sure, we all want to reach the finish line. We just have to have the structure, and we have to have the safe rapport to be able to do it. And so I just invite anybody, just go to my website, go to theshamefreelife.com, theshamefreelife.com, set up a free discovery call. It costs you nothing, 30 minutes of your time, just to see if we are a perfect fit. And if not, I can refer you to someone else. But if we are a perfect fit, I would be more than honored to help you do amazing things by becoming the amazing man that you have yet met yourself. You haven't met him, but we're going to make sure that he introduces himself to you. And so, just go to theshamefreelife.com, set up that free session. And if you're interested in joining the Samson Restored movement, please do. All of the information is there at theshamefreelife.com, as well as my books.
I'll make sure I include the link and also to your social medias when this comes up. Ronald, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You are a powerful man. This was one I don't minimize it, because I do say it a lot with people I connect with. I felt as I connected with you, your story, your movement, and you are a powerful person. And I'm glad that our journeys have crossed.
Absolutely.
And our paths have crossed. And tag me on anything you do, man. Tag me on anything you do.
Absolutely.
I want to reshare it. I want to make sure that you get the proper shine that you do with the people that listen to me, and all the men. They need exposure to this type of talk. They don't need to see all that negativity, and dabble in the positive. And you, sir, are one of those. You're positive, you're strong, you're a leader that will show them, hey, I'm not the only leader here. And that's a beautiful thing. So, Ronald, thank you again for your time. Thank you again for everything that you've shared. And thank you.
Hey, thank you for being a light in the midst of so much darkness. I appreciate you.
Thank you for holding space for me and finishing the episode, and I want to give thanks to Ronald for his wonderful appearance on my show. If you've ever felt like pain made you less of a man, Ronald's story says the opposite. Facing it is what gives you strength. We heard how he built a life around breaking cycles, naming shame for what it is, and helping men move from silence to self-awareness. One honest conversation at a time. His message is simple but powerful. You don't heal by hiding. You heal by speaking up, taking responsibility, and choosing a different ending. This is the FYI I Am Damaged podcast. Now stay tuned right now for the song I created for my children's book. I think your little ones will like it. Have fun dancing.
In the bright green jungle where the tall trees sway, lived a little elephant who felt big feelings. Every day Logan loved to splash and play by the riverside, but sometimes wobbly legs made him wanna run and hide. Taught me doing flips like a stormy shaking drum. A tiny voice inside him whispered, what if I can't have fun? Then Brandon the wise monkey smiled from the tree, said, little friend, take a breath, come and sit with me. Feel your feet on the ground, feel your hand on your heart. We're breathing together, that's how courage starts. I am strong, I am safe, I can do this. Breathe it in slow, let it out with a wish. When my mind feels wiggly like a monkey in the trees, I calm my heart down with my started a game of tag. Logan felt the nervous pull, his body started to drag. But he remembered Brandon and the tools he had inside. Took a deep, gentle breath instead of running off to hide. Breathe in the sunshine, breathe out all the fear. Stomped his big elephant feet and felt his courage appear. With the wiggle of his trunk and a lap so free, whispered to himself, there's a lion heart in me. His friends saw him smiling as he joined in the game. They asked, Logan, what's your secret? You don't look the same. He said, when my thoughts get loud, I don't have to stay small. I breathe and move my body and I stand up tall. I am strong, I am safe, I can do this. Breathe it in slow, let it out with a wish. From my mind be wiggly like a monkey in the trees. I calm my heart down with my breath and my knees. I am strong, I am safe, I can do this step by step forward through the skin and know what it is. Even when my tummy feels funny and tight, I can still be brave. I can still shine bright. Little heart listening, this song is for you. It's okay to feel scared, that feeling's true. But just like Logan in the jungle so wide, you've got quiet, steady strength living inside. So breathe in slowly, feel your feet on the floor. Let your shoulders soften, you don't need to. Whisper to yourself when the worries rush through. I am strong, I am safe, and I know what to do. I am strong, I am safe, I can do this. Breathe it in slow, let it out with a wish. When my mind feels wiggly like a monkey in the trees, I calm my heart down with my breath and my knees. I am strong, I am safe, I can do this step by step forward through the skin and know what it is. Logan showed the jungle and I show the world. There's a strong light hero in every boy and girl in the bright green jungle. When the stars shine above, brave little hearts fall asleep feeling safe.